Am I the butthole for refusing to let a woman take from my greenhouse and pressing charges? I, 30 male, live in a nice little neighborhood, everyone knows everybody, and we all have our own space and many have flower gardens. I have a greenhouse in my backyard that is visible from the street and behind a 4-foot picket fence. We got a new neighbor, haven't had the chance to meet them until today. I have a camera in my yard that notified me of movement near the greenhouse, so I went and checked, and that's when I found a lady and young teen picking tomatoes and peppers in my greenhouse. I raised my voice and asked what on earth they were doing, and the woman says it's fine, she's friends with the owner. I asked if she wants to run that by me again, cause in the owner and I don't know who the hell they are. When she realized she was caught, she tried to leave with a bag full of vegetables. I told her she isn't leaving with that food and she has 2 minutes to drop it and leave or I'm pressing charges. She starts crying that she's trying to feed her child and needs it and that she can't afford this on her record, but I didn't feel like rewarding a theft and took the food from her and called the cops. She's telling everyone in a butthole and a toxic man, and though most are telling her she's in the wrong, her friends on Facebook are telling me I'm a butthole and should be ashamed. AITA. Edited for information. When she was offered the chance to leave without police involvement, she screamed at me and broke a pot that had some chives growing. I don't have her on Facebook. However, my name is on my mailbox and have since put my account to private. If she had asked first, by all means I would have given her a couple peppers, tomatoes, even some squash, but she didn't. NTA, she stole from you. She should have talked with you beforehand. The fact that she has the lie "I know the owner" ready to go makes me think she's used to stealing. So, if original post caught me in his house taking his TV, that would be wrong? That's not how entitled works. I needed a TV and ops and asked for not letting me help myself. /S. Don't worry, I know the owner, he's got his name right here on the TV. Sony and I go way back to middle school, trust me. My uncle works at Sony and will shut down your TV if you don't let me watch it. Also, we're taking it back to the early COD 4 days, huh? Edit. Thanks, kind Redditor, for my first award, lol. My dad works at Nintendo. He says Sonic is in the next Mario game. Also said if you check under a truck you can find Mew. Why would you give me another reason to get a Switch? My uncle is Joe Nintendo. That right, the Joe Nintendo. We had this going on in my neighborhood a few years back. These two middle-aged women would make the rounds of backyard gardens and help themselves, during the day when most people were working. When caught, they'd babble in another language and pretend they didn't know English. Finally, after other methods failed to stop them, the police were called as the victims knew where they lived. 2 visits later from the police, they finally stopped. We called it the case of the purloined produce. Not the butthole. There's some lady here that keeps stealing someone's lemons. No, I'm not referencing that thing, though I have been seriously tempted to make that joke. She's done it multiple times and these people have cameras and have posted her picture. Pretty bold. Oh, and not the butthole for sure. Maybe if you don't want theft on your record, don't steal? Is she having a lemon party? I gave you silver because you somehow made me laugh and shiver at the same time, laughing out loud. Did you livered? Or did you shaft? But either way, thank you, kind internet stranger. Somebody stole the one lonesome tomato my sad little porch plant managed to produce last year. I was really looking forward to that tomato. Damn, that's cold. Your only tomato. That reminds me of my mom, growing a beautiful solitary poppy in our front yard, and looking forward to harvesting the seeds once the flower was finished, just to have someone steal the whole flower and seed pod. She thinks it was the bus driver who goes by our house, but I'm not sure. Shame either way. Just FYI, it might have been an animal. We've had crows steal cherry tomatoes from our little porch, there's no way a human got up there. I have this issue with my herb and flower gardens. The college-aged kids up the road in student housing waltz by and help themselves. They tried a couple times after I moved the planters to my backyard, but I guess they didn't fancy the risk of being attacked by my lab/Great Dane mix who looks imposing, or my daughter's Jow demon who takes the form of a stocky rat terrier. The big one is a marshmallow, but the small one would rip off their limbs. NTA, this is theft, plain and simple. If she didn't want charges or a record, she shouldn't have broken into your yard and greenhouse and stolen your property. If you hadn't involved the police and served up some consequences for her actions, Lord knows what else she'd have stolen from neighbors. I used to grow catnip on my patio. One day the neighbor cats tore through the screen and had a party, demolishing all my plants and furniture, then pissed everywhere for good measure. I hope those naughty co-eds who stole from you weren't marking territory. See, I always ask my neighbors that have big rosemary or thyme bushes if I can have a couple of sprigs, and I only take stuff if it is over the sidewalk. On my auntie's street one day they woke up and found that some plants had been dug up and reburied in someone else's garden. The neighbors all knew each and believed that they had nothing to do with it and were stumped as to how and why the plants had been moved. This continued on every few nights for weeks, with people's flowers and shrubs being switched round all over the neighborhood. In the end it came out that my uncle was playing an elaborate prank on everyone and was going out in the dead of night switching everyone's plants round. This is the most British thing I've ever read. It is too late for being adopted by your aunt and uncle? It was a masterpiece. Unfortunately, my uncle passed away 15 or so years ago from cancer. My auntie I haven't seen in a good 10 years as she moved across the country. Last I heard she was doing well though. As for the adoption thing, she fostered many children over her life and actually adopted my cousin as the last child she cared for. My nan also adopted, only actually having 3 children herself, but adopted a further 2 more. One of them was black and she had to fight to adopt him, as it was very uncommon for an all-white family to adopt a black child back then, and they were very suspicious of her for it. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Wow, it looks like you have a wonderful family. I'm 31 years old, so it was not real lol. But to me, adoption is the most amazing and beautiful thing in the whole world. Thank you for the faith maintenance of the day, romantic cat face. My parents have this too. Just helping themselves to fruit, vegetables and bloody flowers. Always don't speak English, always waving him off, no. By helping themselves I mean picking all the produce. All of it. People would come and raid the persimmon tree in my former in-laws' yard so often, it was a shock when someone knocked on the door to ask if they could have some. We had a guy in our neighborhood who was known for stealing flower pots. Like the big concrete ones that people put in sidewalks. Apparently he would take them to the local bar and try to trade them for free beers. If this was in Chicago more than 6 years ago, or NYC 15 years ago. I think you may have met my BF. He died 4 years ago, but while he was alive he was quite an eccentric character with a unique sense of humor. Besides being a bit of a kleptomaniac and addict, he was genuinely a really great person who was just dealt a rough hand in life. After we started dating he cut down on the drinking/drugs, and I was able to finally convince him to stop stealing flower pots and outdoor furniture. Unfortunately he wasn't able to escape his mental illness. Sorry if you were ever personally affected. I promise he didn't do things like that to hurt people. I need to know if you are both referencing the same person. Also, I am sorry for your loss of him. I'm very curious too. He was a well-known guy and had a lot of unique, but wide, social circles. Former games blader, bartender, chef, involved with some well-known and semi-famous chefs, was a monk, taught Mandarin. So it's happened several times since he's died that I've met people who knew him or knew of him. Thank you, he was a very interesting and beautiful man, and I'm so lucky to have known and loved him. My mom once had her windowsill flower pot stolen. Like in the morning we found the soil and flowers on the windowsill, but the pot was gone. In the neighborhood I just moved away from, this guy moves in and, not a college student by any means, living in college town, and supposedly cannot speak English when stealing other people's utilities until the word police is used. Landlords had to turn off everything associated with outside access, so our front door lights didn't work anymore, and the people he would have over didn't make it feel very safe after dark. He would also steal our packages off the front porch. I'm glad I'm out. Sounds like a Nancy Drew book. This, NTA. Clearly she thought she could get away with this by stating I know the owner when she in fact did not. She lied, tried to steal, and overall that whole afford to feed my kids is likely a lie as well, to try and gain sympathy, make your FB private, F her friends and get a lock for your greenhouse. It may be made of glass, but the damn door should have a latch for a lock. If she breaks it to try and get food, well, cameras are wonderful and I'm glad you have them. I hope original post literally F's her friends. That would be next level revenge. Stole, trespassed and lied. Lol, put a lock on that greenhouse. They'll be back to steal or sabotage. Glad you were at home to catch them red-handed. Edit, NTA. I completely agree with everything. The audacity to act that entitled has subclinical psychopathy attributes. She and her cohort will absolutely damage/sabotage/lie about you and your property, when it is you who ruined the backyard foraging jaunts for them. Stay safe. And put up some of those "you are on camera" signs, on your greenhouse and elsewhere on your property, so if she comes back to damage something she'll think twice. And no trespassing signs, my signs have "on camera" and this all in one. Helps press charges. Consider a restraining order as well, again it helps if you need to take it further someday. Big props to original post for the forethought of having the camera to alert him. NTA, it was clearly a private greenhouse, she lied about knowing the owner, she filled a bag full, and then she complained about it, a theft being added to her record. She knew she was doing something illegal, completely her fault. She's just mad she got caught. Get a trespassing charge on her too. If you catch her again, charges will be worse for her. She deserves it. Not to mention those crocodile tears can turn on like a faucet. I've heard they're good for chives. She was trying to water the plants. And she dragged her kid along. Just to ensure their education in all things theft and lying is well-rounded. And she dragged her kid along. She used her kid in hopes that it would stop someone from pressing charges and to make them appear innocent when traipsing around other people's houses/yards/greenhouses. She's pimping her kid to further her criminal exploits. There's a good chance that kid is super embarrassed whenever his mom does crap like this and resents it but has no choice but to come along. This is what I was thinking. Poor kid. I made a comment about a nightmare family that used to live next to me. Multiple kids that ran wild and weren't sent to school or anything. Wore rags. When they stole from our garden was quite literally the only time they were ever supervised. NTA. The fact that she had a record that she couldn't afford to have something added to is a huge red flag, even if the rest wasn't already so egregious. Edited to add the NTA. My kids are starving, for chips and salsa. Hush, child, just eat this pile of chives the gracious Lord blessed us with today. Hi, I was in here trespassing yesterday, and I couldn't find any carrots. Is there someone I can speak to about the limited range of produce? Give me a deal on those chives, too, I know they're not first quality. I'd get more cameras in the greenhouse as well as somewhere high enough pointing to it in case they come back. Oh, and time to get a 6 feet plus fence. I think it's worse that she filled her bag all the way up. Take some, don't strip the greenhouse of all its vegetables. My mom always said 1 or 2 was okay, 1 to eat at the spot and 1 for the road. Any more would be stealing. So steal some. Not all? It depends. For example, we've had people in our neighborhood who've had fruit trees, lemon, lime, mandarin, even an olive tree, growing on their front yard, and genuinely don't care if someone helps themselves to 1 or 2 of the produce. Some get tired of people asking, and just put up a sign that says help yourself. I've had friends who've lived near or on farms too, and they're always allowed to help themselves to an apple or something from the tree on the way home. But if you say, came up with a giant paper bag or a basket and took as much as you could without asking, that's looked down on. It's taking advantage of people's goodwill and generosity. It was food in a greenhouse. Meaning behind a door. How is taking any, even one, okay? It's not like it was on the outside of the property, either, so it's a different scenario. There are 4 things that make this so much worse. 1. She tried to lie. 2. She brought her daughter. 3. She tried to steal so much. 4. She broke the goddamn chive pot. Come on, man. NTA. She was stealing from you. Assuming you are in the US, if she needs food assistance, there is SNAP, food stamps, the food handouts that are going on all over in churches who will give her food. Yep, live in New England, many a friend use EBT and I help people when I can. But not those who steal. People used to steal from my vegetable and flower beds all the time and it made me crazy because, like you, I would always give out produce if asked, I'd always bring bags of lemons into work, for instance, and so many snap peas and squashes, but people who steal always seem to damage the plants or take things too early and waste them, and that's just not okay. NTA et al. I love my plants and really care about them. It hurts to see your hard work destroyed. I have a new fenced garden now, and I am really happy to not have to deal with entitled people stripping my entire flower beds of every rose and rosebud or every single strawberry. People who steal always seem to damage the plants or take things too early and waste them, and that's just not okay. That's my biggest issue. Aside from the lack of permission, these people can easily end up killing the plants they're taking from. I grew up gardening with my grandpa, and he taught me from a young age how to safely harvest from a variety of plants. It's not just ripping crap off. Plant care is a lot of work, and it only takes one fool to ruin a year or more of labor. My sis has an apple tree growing in her front garden. Last year, she was getting super excited to see the apples growing, first time there was substantial fruit there, and returned home from work to find someone had taken every single apple off the tree. They wouldn't even have been fully ripe. She was really upset. Oh God, your poor sis. Hopefully the tree produces some apples again this year, and no one takes them. Sometimes it's wild animals that take all the fruit and veggies. My plentiful parsley all got eaten by a deer the day I was planning to finally use some. She should get a camera. Maybe even put up a sign saying CCTV, don't steal apples. I can't believe that someone would take every single one. Maybe 1 to 3. But not all of them. My neighbors grow rhubarb, and if they have extra they put it out on a chair and say take some. There's ways to share with your neighbors. Owning a greenhouse, ain't it? You live in New England and you have fresh peppers this time of year? I'm impressed. Heated greenhouses are great. You can grow basically year-round. Greenhouses usually help growing year-round. You live in NE and you're growing veggies in a greenhouse right now? Grayest deck/Jan I can remember in quite a while. Yet people manage to grow weed in their closets and basements year-round. Not to mention she could have knocked on the door and asked. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.